My guest is a performance strategist for high-achieving men, helping sales leaders and executives reclaim their energy, transform their presence, and unlock career-defining confidence. He's got a science-based system and a no-bullshit style, I can guarantee that. He's helped countless people turn burnout into breakthrough and, in the process, land some major promotions. He says presence is how you show up. Welcome to Leadership That Sells. This is the podcast that helps you to lead first and sell more. And that's because most sales leaders are leading the wrong kind of team, and they don't even know it. They think they've got a football team, but in reality, they're running like a golf club. Each player is out on their own course. They're chasing the same trophy, but they never pass the ball. And then we go off and we force collaboration on them, and we slow them down. We drive competition, but nobody learns. The same people always win. And then lastly, when we think we're empowering, we're actually stepping back and we're abandoning the biggest lever for growth that we actually have. I'm Paul Morton, your host and founder of Leadership That Sells. It's a leadership power-up for sales managers. It's a light, fast reset that helps you make simple, practical shifts in how you lead so you can finally lead the team you actually have. If that sounds like something for you, you can pick up our practical leadership guide at the Practical Leadership Academy. Robin Keller, thank you very much indeed for joining me.
Thanks, Paul, for having me.
Absolute pleasure. I've been really looking forward to this conversation. One of the things you said is mastering your body is the fastest path to mastering your performance. Can you unpack that for me?
Yes, happy to do so. So, I mean, it's a natural, like people will perceive you automatically, naturally as a leader if you can already show without having to say a word that you can take care of yourself, that you can lead yourself, right? Because it's a little bit of a cognitive dissonance if like somebody says like, oh, I'm a great leader, but like physically when you look at them,
They're a wreck.
they have challenges leading themselves, right? Exactly. And what we just see now over transforming hundreds of men without adding anything to their qualification, without adding an additional certificate or something like that, just by upgrading how they look, how they feel, how they show up, and naturally like how their confidence increases. Not only obviously their professional aspect and well-being increases, but any other area that is like important to someone. Like if that's health, obviously in the first place, relationships, professional, health, wealth, all of them at the same time. It's the easiest lever that you can use to upgrade your presence in life in one go, essentially.
Yeah. I mean, I think you look at somebody, and the two people standing in front of me, you mentioned this before when we were chatting, two people standing in front of you, and they're both equally qualified, and one of them takes care of themselves and one of them doesn't. Which one do you talk to first? You know? And it's nothing to do with looks at all. It's a look. It's the way that they look. I mean, I've got a face for radio. I know that. This is why we're doing this in a podcast. But you recognize it's how you present yourself. Your confidence comes from knowing that, number one, you're reasonably healthy. You feel good in yourself. And I don't just think we're talking about being a gym bunny here. There's more to it than that. What is
100%. 100%. I mean, we're not talking about gym bros or something like that. It's
No, no.
literally like showing up as the high performer you claim to be, right? To drive the point home that you mentioned earlier, because like everybody in sales knows like one of the first things that they learn is like everything in life is sales, right?
Yeah.
You have to sell yourself to your partner, you have to sell yourself to any interaction, to new connections, to networks. And also like let's say if you're doing traditional sales calls or anything, the first thing that you're going to sell there is yourself. Because before you can even talk about the pain points of your clients or your prospects, the product that you're selling, you first have to sell yourself, like who you are. Is this person someone that I trust? And if you naturally show up glowing, energetic, confident, visibly showing that you can take well care of yourself versus somebody that like you look at him and he already starts having difficulties breathing. It's just like, like not where it can be potential wise. It's just like a limitation that everybody like pretty much consciously will put on himself.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think it's it's not necessarily an easy thing to fix. I think it's an easy thing to not fix. It's easy to, like any salesperson will know, the greatest competition is the status quo. Just to carry on as you were. It's fine, it's okay. But I think the moment you start to question, can I be, what is the best version I can be of myself? You have to get to that point where you can ask that question for a reason. And from my point of view, as a husband and as a father, I do it. I keep myself in shape for my family. But then as a leader of people, I have to serve both my family and the people that I lead. I am not at the top of the tree, at the top of the pyramid looking down. I am at the bottom of the pyramid holding up. And taking care of yourself means you can take care of other people. If you're not taking care of yourself, it quite simply means you cannot take care of other people. Yeah?
That's a very important lesson that you realized. But with a lot of men, if it's in leading position, executive position, sales positions, it's easy to fall into the people pleaser position and forget about yourself,
Yeah.
right? Because they think like, because I mean it's a natural trait that we have. Like it's easy for to go out of our way for other people, but it's difficult for do that ourselves. We just sometimes, it's also like a question obviously of like how honest can you be with yourself, and a lot of people can like not have that honest conversation with themselves. I just literally had yesterday an interesting podcast where we talked also about that, to like, like you need to be able to like be fully honest with you and like see where you're at. But the realization, which everybody has to do kind of like in their own way, hitting a certain point, that you can only serve the people around you in the best way when you are in the best position to do so. That's also like why we say like when an airplane is crashing and the or like is like losing oxygen and the masks fall down, put it first on yourself before you help others, right? Because if you run out of oxygen, you can't help anybody else.
Put on your own mask first. Put on your own mask first. Exactly. Now, you got a story, you alluded to it earlier, when you were working with one of your clients, one of the people you're working with, and all of a sudden, overnight, they got this fabulous new job. Not quite, but tell us a story.
Well, I mean, it kind of goes into that direction. So essentially, one of my still active members actually, he's originally from the Netherlands, lives in Geneva, and has been in a sales executive position where he was doing well, good sales guy, bringing in revenue, respected leader, and all of that. But he was still like, when we talked the first time, he was like, "Yeah, look, I mean, I'm doing fine. I'm doing everything okay. But physically, like, I think I could level it up." It was like initially with no intention to like up level his professional stance. Obviously, it was just like, "Hey, I used to be fitter in my past. I just want to get back to like feeling good about myself, like have energy, feel presentable when I go on vacation in summer, not feel ashamed of like taking off the shirt." Now, fast forward, the very fast forward, we helped him drop essentially around 11 kilos of body fat, primarily obviously around the belly section, added some muscle on top. Really cool photos he sent me from his vacation in Brazil, where for the first time he was like, "I've never been able to like take photos of me and like feel so good about it." But the natural side effect, the consequence, kind of like what that happened, because he's worked in sales and he has a lot of like networking events, prospecting, conferences, and everything. And that comment that I heard from him, the first comment about that, like happened probably like 4 weeks in, where he said, like, "Look, something's happening right now. I can't really explain it, but like networking, connecting, conversations, they just flow easier. Like I do feel I have more energy and all of that, but it's just like I attract opportunities better, things flow better." He started just like from that position alone already, like making more, because obviously if you close more, you make more. And that continued with conferences and everything. And a few months in, he essentially got a position offered at a major oil firm with thousands of employees, becoming the sales director, essentially. During that time, he didn't do a new certification. He didn't do any additional training. He didn't do anything that could add to his paper qualification, so to say. Everything that essentially happened was through the leveling up of his physical appearance, thus having a progress in his possibly mental attitude, confidence, how he radiates. Becoming more magnetic is something that I like to use, right? The word. And yeah, I mean, like the short story essentially, like, yeah, within a few months, essentially he got a sales director role at a pretty decent firm and doing a little bit better, to say the least, right now. You're muted.
What do you think were the one or two key things that you helped him to do
So you mean when it comes to like the progress that he's been seeing physically
to get there? Yeah.
to get there? Um, well, the thing is, like, a lot of these things can have a cascade effect, right? Like a domino effect. What I usually always start out with, what was most men are generally like struggling with, is carrying a little bit too much weight, carrying a
Yeah.
little bit too much body fat, and that's where also like essentially most men go wrong. Essentially, where they think like, oh, I just have to exercise more, run 5 times a week. So the most important thing, if you want to reduce body fat, get leaner, fit in slim fit clothing, is you have to address the nutrition. Like you can exercise as much as you want,
Eat less.
eat wise. What you eat 3 times a day, 3 times a day, is the biggest lever that you can do. An important lesson that a lot of people still don't realize these days, and it's just like simplifies it. What you eat will decide your body fat percentage or weight. How you train will decide how you look at that body fat or weight. So that's the very first thing. So it's always one of the first thing that I address while optimizing sleep, obviously. So recovery, so energy the next day is great. And then obviously like helping shoulders because like I mean if you square up, we talked about that earlier, like if you're looking the part, if you're like you don't need to become like a bodybuilder or like like an athlete or a monster or anything like but if you look trim, like you have broad shoulders, nice arms, maybe a bicep vein coming up, that comes obviously through the training. And if you can show up like that, it's like a passive asset. Like you don't need to talk about it. You don't need to do anything about it. You just stand there, you do nothing, and it does the work for you, right? Which is actually like quite a cool thing.
It is. And I think that's probably half the battle as well. You're looking for that unfair advantage. So,
Well, is it unfair? I think it's pretty fair.
well, in response to the amount of work that
Yeah.
you have to put in, and it's not. This is not an easy thing to do. Okay, I mean, eating well is easy once you've started eating well. But when you're not eating well, to move from eating shit that you get from the supermarket every day to cooking your own food, it's like, oh, that could be daunting. Until you start it and realize actually cooking is kind of cooking is life. And there's a wonderful thing I like to say. We work for companies. Okay, a company is where you are in company of other people. And company, the word comes from compan, with bread. It's people that I want to break bread and eat with. So if you cook and you eat good food with other good people, I don't see people getting fat from eating food they've cooked themselves. I mean, from scratch. If you cook
Mhm.
wholesome, good, raw,
Mhm.
sensible food, eat as much as you like. Anyway, so there's that. So it's not an easy thing to do, but once you've started it, you realize, what have I been doing? You realize how easy this is, and you just show
Yeah.
up.
To add to that point, I agree. Like if you can, obviously, if you have the time or somebody to help you with that, like that's a great thing. But I think that's also like one of the big reasons why a lot of man leaders will struggle mentally to say commit to it and be like, okay, yeah, let me take care of that because like, oh, this is an impossibility. I don't have time to cook. I don't have to do all these things. What I not pride myself necessarily in, but like what I stand out compared to like if you call it like other traditional like fitness coaches or whatever, you don't need to cook all your meals at home. You don't need to like go to five different supermarkets and, like have everything organic or something like that. Once you understand what you need to focus your attention on when it comes to your nutrition, like what is really important, what will move the needle, and how you can implement that, even if you're just, let's say, you can shop within a 500-meter radius from your office building, because you're going to have gas stations there, you're going to have some restaurants there. You can get in amazing shape by eating out. You just need to know what to pay attention to, right? Yes, if you're only defaulting to like chocolate croissants or
Pizza. Yeah.
only pizza and all of that. I mean, even that could be integrated into the quote unquote plan. But I have literally multiple members that are on the road all day, and sometimes they just don't have the time. They have to eat from gas stations. Yeah, I mean, like you can still find these, like you can find high protein options and like fibrous foods in gas stations. What I also ought to do is like in every country, like wherever you is, like fortunately these days, like there's certain meal prep services, not
Yeah.
necessarily like a meal prep service, but like they prep frozen meals and you just have to heat it up, and they're like 90%, 80% spot on. You maybe want to like modify it a little bit, like add something to it, but it doesn't take time. You just throw it quickly into the microwave and you have it sorted. But you need to obviously know first what's going on, because the thing that holds most executives, leaders, and everything back is I can't do this. I don't have the time. I don't like can't. And but because their imagination is like, oh, I have to do all these things that are not as much moving the needle as it should be. Because I always make sure with whoever I'm starting, okay, let's focus on the 20% that give you 80% of the results. Because the truth is, most
That's it.
guys
That's
they
it.
do they do the complete opposite.
That's it. Totally. Focusing on macros. Start with the macros. Start with the yes. You've got the Fit High Performer program. Now, what's your core framework without giving away the secret sauce? Okay. Now, the challenge, and you shouldn't worry about this, because if information was the cure for everything, we would all be billionaires with six-pack abs, right? Information is not the problem. You can go in and find out anything about anything, any number of cat videos, any answer to any question you like. It's the support, the consistency, it's the network, it's the connection, all that sort of stuff that you're going to be able to find if I come and talk to you. Talk us through, what is this core framework behind your program?
Great question. I'm not worried about giving away any secrets. I'm very transparent about like what I do. So the problem is like, just to like hold on quickly, like I used to be a personal trainer, like traditionally in the gym. And one of the reasons why I decided to what I do today with the Fit High Performer is because I've seen successful men doing well and giving all their effort in the gym for 1 hour, but they didn't see the results. That's when I had to realize, like, okay, look, the 1 hour you spend in the gym, sure, doesn't hurt. But what really matters is the 23 hours outside, right? That's because everybody can show up to the gym for an hour, right? So most. But what are you doing with the rest of it? So essentially, what I designed is a complete framework, a holistic approach that covers what I refer to the 6 key areas that are necessary for successful body transformations, right? I mean, obviously, like the basic ones, the simple ones that are in there, right? Like nutrition, of course. Performance nutrition made simple. How can you eat and fuel your body like an athlete, but technically like live off a gas station, right? Where is the good middle ground? Training is obviously an important part. I only have my guys initially work out like 2 times, 35, 45 minutes, because that's all somebody needs to get in decent shape. The next thing, and that is like on the pyramid when it comes to like importance, together with nutrition and exercise, is recovery. What I refer to neurophysiological recovery, because essentially everybody's over obsessed about morning routines and cold plunges and, like doing whatnot. How you go to bed, how you wind down, and how well you're able to recover throughout the night is the biggest predictor of how well your energy will be the next day, right? You can do the best morning routine in the world. If you're not recovering properly, it's for nothing. So your wind down routine is the big brother of the morning routine. Much more important, right? High performance can only function if you have high recovery. So that's the third thing. Fourth thing is a little bit like more of a recent thing, but we also look at health markers, blood markers, and that goes beyond like what your doctor would traditionally test you for, which like things such as blood sugar, LDL cholesterol, which is like a typical topic. But there are things that are like crucially important too, like for example, like your testosterone, right? A little bit of a taboo topic, but I'm not shying away from talking about that because testosterone is literally the most important value when it comes to man's performance and vitality, right? So we want to look at that because depending on what's going on in your body, we can adjust the protocol to help get these markers and symptoms where they should be, right? So you operate from a from a holistically founded more ground. So that's fourth one. The fifth one is body KPIs. We all track our KPIs in business, right? We track our like closing rate, churn, P&L. Like we have all certain metrics. Why do we do that? Because we know exactly the truth is in the data, and a small change here and there can have a massive impact, compounding effect down the road, right? If you just like increase your closing rate by a few percent, that could make thousands and thousands of a difference by the end of the year. We have this knowledge or we have this logic mindset with our business, but most guys, they don't have that with their body. They have no idea about their REM sleep, protein intake, like I said, testosterone, the real health markers that are important, body fat percentage, activity, all of that. So that's why I say the data doesn't lie, and we have to track your body KPIs because that's when we can really assess, hey, are we making the progress that we want? And if not, we know exactly where to adjust to see predictable progress because everything we do is like, it's 100% predictable, right? It's math and biology. And as long as you move the right levers and you have the data to like back it up, like every week you make literal progress, right? So these are actually like the four core ones. And the last one essentially is just like travel and social. Because the thing is, like, you can have all these five things, but if you can integrate it into your lifestyle, into your schedule, into your travel, into your responsibilities, the best plan in the world is not going to work for you. So we really make sure that on these protocols, then also like when you like have international travels, conferences, anywhere where something like that could become challenging, how can we integrate that? Have compensation strategies, have adjustment strategies that these places deserve the adjustment that they need and not as like a point of derailing and where somebody loses motivation, right? Because that's like one of the biggest problems, right? So essentially to summarize, performance nutrition, the training, health markers, body KPIs, travel and social, and the recovery aspect.
Yeah, I mean, you can do all these wonderful things, and then all of a sudden you're faced with a buffet in an open bar, right? The hell do you do with that? Avoid it like the plague. Stop drinking. Fizzy water.
Yeah,
And then you're going to
yeah.
bed and you're spending all your time in your bed with your phone in your face with the blue lights, and it's just, you're not getting any sleep. And yeah, I love this. Very, very sensible. Very sensible. So you've worked obviously with leaders, with sales leaders, and you help people recover from burnout. I think the best thing, obviously, prevention is better than the cure. If you're helping people to show up with presence, with authority, and try and get, obviously, you said there with a promotion, some leadership options that come out at the end of that, why would you say so many of your clients land those promotions so quickly after working with you? And what's the one thing people can learn from that?
I think we touched on a little bit already earlier on that. Like I said, like during that time, they don't add any certification, they don't add any new training, they don't add anything else. But what happens as a natural consequence if you, first of all, make the effort to take care of yourself, like you start prioritizing yourself a little bit, and the physical changes, maybe also like psychological changes that come from it, you have more energy,
There we
you
go.
feel better. Like the natural domino effect that will just come from that. I mean, like if you wake up in the morning and you feel like ready to go, instead of like first having to like throw down three Nespressos just to feel normal, that's already in and of itself a big difference. And if you show up energetic, more confident, you can handle more stress, you become more productive, right? So there's nothing like there's no technique, like productivity technique that we throw in. You just the machine you're using, which you can't run away from, which is your body, functions better, right? It's like if you're trying to drive, like if you're like, we're all in this race all the time, and like, yeah, you're doing okay, you make it to the finish line, But if you're like optimizing, you're getting the right fuel, you're getting a new set of tires, the traction that works a little bit better. Like you're gonna crush the race. You're gonna become like first place maybe, and like if first place gets rewarded. And that's the same that happens then also like with your leadership presence, right? People will look up to you more. People will ask you like, oh, how you do it. You don't even have to become like like a like you will become as a natural byproduct more charismatic. It's just it's difficult to explain. It's just a natural consequence of how it happens. And obviously, like I said, if you're more resilient, if you're more productive, if you can handle stress more, if people respect you more as a result, which results in also like in positive feedback, the chain up, these are all things that will happen and will be noticed, right? If your body aligns with your performance, like people will notice that.
And I think a big part, possibly even the biggest, it's not necessarily that people look at you and say, gosh, aren't you muscular? I think they look at your eyes and they see peace. They see that you are at peace with yourself. You are comfortable in your own skin. And it's that calm. I mean, the two emotions that are the most contagious is fear and calm. So you're in the theatre and it catches fire. And there's a story that I heard. One of the actors from the show walked out and just smiled, and there was smoke, and he smiled and opened his arms and says, "My dear friends." And he stood for 10 seconds. My dear friend, smoke billowing, people going, ah, ah, my dear friends, we seem to have some problems. And he calmly, his calm was contagious and brought everybody back down. And I think that presence that you get from that knowledge of your own health, of your capabilities, that shines like a sun out of your eyes more than anything else. You know, it's that
100%. Yeah.
inner calm, I think, is one of the beautiful things that comes.
Yeah.
What are you working on right now? What's exciting for you at the moment?
Well, a lot of things. I mean, like obviously we always have like continuous transformations going on, and each situation in and of itself, each case is a story worth mentioning by itself. Just like one of the most recent ones, which I like to refer to, like we're currently having a guy. He just completed his second half marathon. He's now 50. He's fitter at 50 than when he was 25 years old. He just also earlier this year got a massive, major promotion. Didn't add anything to his resume, didn't add any other certification. And it got even so much notice from the people around him that he got featured in the Geneva local newspaper for his achievement, right? I mean, he dropped essentially, like, in the meantime, 23 kilos in total, was struggling with weight all his time, all his life, right? And when you look at him now, like he's an absolute unit. He's an absolute machine. He works in commodity trade and like is essentially like the head of credit and finances, commodity traders and everything, and like manages projects. He said like, look, things have been going my way before already, but now things are on a completely different level, you know?
Nice.
And again, yeah, like just like the one of his biggest lessons that are maybe like also interesting to share, he also realized because often high performers get into the thing like, oh yeah, but like my family comes first and I have, like I need to serve them, which is fundamentally like an okay thing to say, like 100%, right? But living with that belief up until now, I didn't even ask him about that. Like he said, like one of the biggest realizations is like I have to put myself first because now if I prioritize myself and if I communicate that, for example, to his wife, because he said like in the past his wife used to get angry at him when he wanted to like leave the house to go on a bike tour or something like that. And today he says like, no, look, this is my priority. His relationship improved because of that. Things went his way at work beforehand already. Now his relationship and the dynamic at home has improved as a result of that too, because she understands now, because he shows up, because he's not only the leader at work, but he also decides to lead himself and the family the right way.
I mean, it's such it's a very underappreciated male family characteristic. If you don't like the attitude or the sense that you have at home, change it. You change it, because you lead it, right? I mean, the thing, maybe it's sexist, maybe it's not. The thing that's, if mama ain't happy, ain't nobody happy. It's not true. That's mostly true. But the air, the sense, the energy at home, it's dad. It's the husband. And if you're an arse and you're grumpy, guess what? Right? Don't be an arse. Don't be grumpy. Be fit.
Yeah, it's the man's responsibility.
It is. It is. I mean,
it is.
It just is. It's biblical. It just
It
goes
is.
back. It's patriarchal. Oh, down with the patriarchy. Okay, you go down with the patriarchy and see where that leads you.
Yeah, it's energetical. I mean, in my opinion, like if you look like
Yes.
like masculine energy, feminine energy. The masculine is the leading one, the container, the one protects, the one that leads, the one that brings calmness into it, which is like how we do it at work, or like most men do it at work, but at home they start losing that frame a little bit. Right?
And because I think we've been taught this is an entirely different conversation.
Yeah.
We've been taught for a very long time that women are equal, and they're not. They are different, right? They are just as good, but they can't jump as high as I can. I can't give birth. Okay, I'm not nurturing. Okay, men and women are not the same. They are just as good as each other in the things that they're just as good at.
Agree.
That's it, and it's entirely different. And the challenge, I think, I mean, I've got a young son and a young daughter, and the challenge is to try and reset this, because it's just a lie, and it's a dangerous lie, where you've been telling, oh, you can be anything you like. You can, but you won't. I mean, how many, for example, how many female lumberjacks are there? Probably some. Majority? No. How many women do these nasty, dangerous jobs versus the nurturing jobs? It's just different. We're just made differently. And if you lean into that, things are good. If you try and break that, then well, good for you for trying to break something, but don't expect that it's going to be easy or good. So there's an understanding of reality there that we have to.
Yeah, I 100% agree.
Where can we find you when we need you?
Well, you'll find me if you want to. So
The bat signal goes up.
No, I mean, if you look up my name, like I'm on all major platforms. Usually LinkedIn is usually a good place. I'm also on Instagram, Robin Keller official. Well, that's relatively a new profile. And if you want to see I have also laid out the exact 4-phase system that we use to transform a high-performing man. You can also go to thefithighperformer.com/strategy, and it shows you exactly how we do it. So you can also see if that would work in a situation like yours.
Marvelous. All those links will be in the description of this episode. All that remains for me is to say, Robin Keller, thank you very much for coming on and sharing your wisdom with my audience.
Thank you very much, Paul, for having me. It was a pleasure.